Tropicals, Camille, Baby Cascade, and Pelly. Other series Tropicals sold separately.
Introducing the new Play-Doh Mop Top Hair Shop.
Well, they're the mop tops, the Play-Doh mop tops. Just turn the chair.
They grow Play-Doh hair.
They're the mop tops.
You can comb it, wave it, style it, or shave it.
The Play-Doh mop tops.
You can let it grow down to his toes.
They're the mop tops.
From the Play-Doh Mop Top
Hair Shop.
The Play-Doh Mop Top Hair Shop, sold with everything you see here. New from Kenner.
Here's Sit and Spin from Kenner.
You can spin around, sit around, even carry it around.
Let's go inside.
You can spin some more, like before, most anywhere you put it down.
Sit and Spin, the indoor-outdoor take-along spinning toy.
Wow! You can spin like one, spin like two. How you spin is up to you.
Sit and Spin, you put it together. From Kenner's Discovery Time.
Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to another brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we are joined by New York Times bestselling author Brad Meltzer talking about his brand new I Am books, I Am Batman, I Am Superman, and how you can win a pair. Later on, we'll be talking with actor Falk Hentschel about his role as Hawkman in the Arrowverse series, his other Hollywood career moments, and his work on creativity and transparency in Hollywood. Stand by.
Comics and movies and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, 1 ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And if you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to you. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're streaming us on the KTRS app or on the website, hello to those of you who might be listening. If you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook, hello to all of you. Thanks very much for finding us tonight. And of course, if you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form, wherever platform you're using to get your podcast, we appreciate you finding us there. Hopefully you're enjoying our show so far. This is our 325th show that we're doing tonight. My first guest has been on the show once before, pre-recorded. I was fortunate enough to catch him while he was passing through St. Louis in March, just before his birthday, for the release of his second book in the Zig and Nola series. And he has agreed to come back on to talk about these new I Am books, which if you're watching, look at these. I Am Superman and I Am Batman, the whole series of these books that are out. We'll talk with him about these 2 books specifically and the other series and more. Without further ado, New York Times bestselling author Brad Meltzer. How are you, sir?
I'm good, my brother. How are you?
Good. I appreciate you coming back on the show. It was great talking to you last time, and I feel like we only just scratched the surface. I'm chuffed that you're back on with us.
Listen, a man, we give a little background. I owe you a huge thank you up front, because you were able to track down a Justice League of America poster that had from my run, and it was one of the kindest things that anyone had ever done for me. So when you need me, I am here.
I appreciate that greatly. It was entirely my pleasure. I found out you didn't get one. I was like, well, that's weird that DC Comics wouldn't send the author of that title a poster, but I'm glad we rectified that for you, and it's always a joy to talk to you.
Just to be clear, they send me every poster. I have like 20 of issue 1, every poster they made. That one was like some retailer variant, whatever, and it just missed me. That's the only, they give me everything, but if I don't know about it, then I don't even know to ask for it.
Interesting. And that's a great jumping on point, because obviously these 2 new books, Batman and Superman, kind of hot properties for DC Comics and Warner Brothers. One of my questions right off the gate is, when you're doing books like this, I assume you've got a great relationship, obviously, with DC, having worked on so many of their titles like Green Arrow and Justice League, and you did Identity Crisis. Was this a matter of you going to them and saying, hey, I'd love to use these characters? How did this come about?
Yeah, no, I went to my friend Jim Lee, and I basically said, Jim knows our kids' books. He's seen us do I Am Amelia Earhart, and I Am Abraham Lincoln, I Am Rosa Parks, and I Am Albert Einstein. And, Jim's been a huge supporter of these books. And I said, I'd love to do I Am Superman and I Am Batman. And I know that those are fictional heroes and the other ones are real heroes, but I said, I really want to show people the power of creativity. I want to show kids the values that I love in these heroes. And Jim put us and connected us with the folks at Warner Brothers because obviously we had to get the rights to Superman and Batman. But that was how it all got set into places. Thankfully, the comic book community is just so supportive and so wonderful. And I love the fact that they let us, and they gave us Wonder Woman as well. So we're going to do 3 books to start it out with.
Oh, great. Any idea when Wonder Woman's coming out?
It comes out next year. Chris Eliopoulos, the incredible artist who we adore, and who makes it look so, he has this wonderful art style that makes it look like a mix between Calvin and Hobbes and Charlie Brown.
Yes.
But, I love his art style. So he's finishing up the Wonder Woman book right now. We were trying to do all 3 at once, but deadlines just, to try and do 3 books all at the same time, it's different than a comic that, we just couldn't pull it off. So we start with I Am Superman and I Am Batman, and we go from there.
And I do have, I know, Brad, you're not watching on video, but I do have copies of the books in my hot little hands right here. So for the listeners right now, if you're listening to the show, I'm happy to give away a pair of these. If you've got a little one and I know a friend of mine, Emily, messaged me and said, I get these books all the time for my kids. We love them. But if you're listening right now, I'm happy to give away a pair of these books to the first person on the KTRS text line at 84126, or if you're watching the video, you can put it in the chats. First person to tell me what the secret identity of Superman is, we'll get your information. We'll send along a pair of these books out to you right now. With the superhero things, obviously Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, that's the big trinity for DC. But you've written Green Arrow, and I think Oliver Queen's an interesting character. Was there any thought to I Am Green Arrow?
Listen, of course, one of my favorite characters. When we did this, the regular series is called the Ordinary People Change the World series. And we felt like, well, these are fictional people, so what are we going to call it? And we said we're going to do it called Stories Change the World. And the reason we started it is, we if you ask somebody, where you got your values from, people want to sound really smart, and so they'll say, oh, I got it from Shakespeare, I got it from Abraham Lincoln, I got it from Rosa Parks, I got it from the Bible, whatever your answer may be. But the reality is, from so many kids, and I know so many of us, nerdy types, it was from comic books.
Yeah.
That's where I learned compassion. That's where I learned kindness. That's where I learned how to be a good person. Superman, for me, was never about the superpowers. It says in the book that, the best super strength you can have is not superpowers. It's just the power of kindness, the power of being a good person. And there's a line in it that says, truth, justice, and the American way are as vital today as ever. And I love the fact that we get to show people and that's what it is. It's the origin of Superman. It's me as if I was doing a comic book story, but just for your kids. And so it shows you that, him coming from Krypton, him meeting, Mom, Pa Kent, them teaching him. And when someone needs help, you always help them. They teach him compassion. They teach him kindness. They teach him perseverance. They teach him hard work. They give him the values. And that's why Superman is Superman. Not the most important part of the story is not Superman.
Right.
The most important part of the story is Clark Kent, because we're all Clark Kent. And I love the fact that we get to share that message with your kids. And that's who I am today, is because of that story. Same thing with Batman. Batman there's a line in I Am Batman. It says, it's not about the gadgets, it's not about the cars, it's not about the utility belts. Every single day that I go out, people try to knock me down, and they tell me, stay down. And I won't. And I keep getting back up again. And I want my daughter to have that lesson. And I want my sons to have that lesson. When someone knocks you down, you get back up again. And Batman taught me that level of perseverance. He taught me I don't need superpowers. He taught me I'm never going to shoot lasers out of my eyes, but man, I can be stubborn and persistent like nobody's business. And that determination is what I want for my own kids. So, do I want to do Green Arrow? Of course I want to do Green Arrow, just as much as I want to do Green Lantern or Red Tornado or Cyborg or anyone else. Every one of those heroes stands for some value that they've given me in my years of reading those comics.
And Amy Robertson in the chat says she loves that, capital LOVE, loves that, what you just said about how, it's about the person, not the powers And I'm wearing my Batman shirt tonight. Obviously, I think you and I may have chatted about it. Batman, hands down, my favorite superhero is because he represents the peak of what any human can achieve. He doesn't have a magic ring like Alan Scott. He doesn't have super speed like Barry Allen or Jay Garrick, and he doesn't come from Krypton. He is the epitome of what any human can make themselves become without powers, given that willpower in there, the drive, which is, I think, one of the reasons I've always kind of gravitated towards Batman as my favorite.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I wore a Batman costume for Halloween from when I was 6 years old until I was about 36 years old. And there's, I'm going to read you directly from I Am Batman. It says, "In my life, I lost the people I loved most. I didn't think I could recover, yet here I am, and I'll be here tomorrow and the night after that. Someone tries to knock me to the ground every day. Stay down, they tell me, and I tell them, no, I will not." It says, "And everyone is scared sometimes. We all feel pain, and we all have moments when we get knocked down. But why do we fall? So we can pick ourselves up again." And, that to me was that's not just a comic book to me. It's a philosophy of life. And that philosophy that you see in Batman is that being Batman comes from what's underneath, the sheer will to face your fears and the refusal to let those fears stop you.
And if you are listening tonight, these books came out, I want to say they came out Wednesday of this week, I believe, when they hit shelves.
Exactly.
So if these are the books I'm holding up against for those of you who might be watching on the video, for those of you who are listening on KTRS, if you just look to your right as you drive down Highway 270, you'll see me holding them up. But these are great books, and we always recommend, obviously, if you can, please get out and support your local bookstore. Get out, and if they don't have them, I'm sure they can order them for you. Obviously, they are also available online if need be. And the website you've got, ordinarypeoplechangetheworld.com. We'll put a link to that in the show notes for those of you who are listening in the podcast form. Scroll down to the bottom, and we'll have a link to that website where you can see all the other books in the series. You can subscribe to these series so you get them as they come out. I'm assuming we talked a little bit about this last time when you were in St. Louis, Brad, about how these reminded me of the old value tales that I had, like The Power of Believing in Yourself, the story of Louis Pasteur. I had a whole set of those that my mom got me, and they were very influential on me growing up. As you just said, these books you're making obviously will be influencing the children now who are reading them. When you take people like Albert Einstein and George Washington, obviously a lot there. These are historical characters. There's a lot to base them on. When you're approaching someone, because you've got ones out that are people who are still alive, Oprah Winfrey, Dolly Parton, how do you approach those with the people who are like, do you reach out to them and ask? How does that work with those books?
Yeah, the good news is the First Amendment lets you tell a story about a real person anytime you want. Anyone can do a book about George Washington or Dolly Parton, but you better believe that when they're alive, I go right to them. And the nice part about the Ordinary People Change the World series, the I Am series, is that people know them now. So, when we did I Am Jane Goodall read her book and helped us.
Oh, wow.
When we did I Am Billie Jean King, I spent 2 hours on the phone with Billie Jean King, going page by page, her saying, in this match, my sneakers were blue. In this match, they were white. At one point, she said to me, when I found out this piece of information, I wasn't here where you put it in the book. I was actually in a different place. And I said to her, I don't mean to be rude, ma'am, but I said, I got that from your autobiography. And she said to me, she laughed. She said to me, yeah, but I was so busy back then, I never proofed my own autobiography. And I'm like, I love the fact that our children's book, I Am Billie Jean King, is now more authentic than her own autobiography, although her newest autobiography is spectacular. And when we did I Am Dolly Parton, of course, we went right to Dolly Parton, and they couldn't be sweeter, nicer, as great as Dolly Parton, of course, is. Gave us the rights to music, corrected some things for us, and it was just, and obviously, I can mess up George Washington, and what's George Washington going to do about it? But
right.
You mess up Jane Goodall, she's coming to your house with chimpanzees. You don't mess up Dolly Parton, or my wife will kill me.
Right.
And so obviously we take this stuff very seriously. Every time we do this, we realize that for so many of these kids and their parents, this is going to be the first time. We know these people. We know Dolly Parton, but even I don't know the story until I start writing it, until I start doing the research. And these stories are incredible. And it's why when we did I Am Superman and I Am Batman, one of the things we did at the end is we showed the real stories. The whole book is their fictional stories, right? But the last pages of the book are the stories of their actual creators. So you find out at the last page that two 17-year-old kids were the people that came up with Superman. Two 17-year-old teenagers who weren't popular, they weren't the cool kids, but they gave the world something to believe in. And there was no better way to teach my kids the power of imagination than telling them that story. And I love the fact that we get to turn this series into unleashing kids' imaginations.
And we've got another popped up in the chat. We've got Chance from Atlanta from the Nostalgia. He said hello from Atlanta. Amy Robertson again says, I love that he also made Temple Grandin and Helen Keller heroes. So awesome, differently abled kids to see heroes who are like them. I know Amy is a friend of mine. She's a champion for the people who have disabilities, and she's very vocal about that. And yeah, that's a great point. When you've got Helen Keller and people like that who struggled, turning them into heroes, that's something kids can see and be like, wow, hey, you know what? I can change the world too.
Yeah, and listen, there are people who are like, when we did Helen Keller, we put real Braille into the book.
Oh, neat.
When she goes blind, the pages of the book go black. It says, "Here's how I see the world. Cover your ears. Here's how I hear the world." And then when she goes blind, we put real Braille. It says, "This is how I read. Close your eyes and feel these dots." And then we put the real Braille alphabet in the book, and it says, "Feel these dots. My name's Helen. What's your name?" And I watched my 19-year-old kid when he was home, and these books are obviously for kids that are, people buy them for kids when they're newborn babies. They buy them to build libraries. But, 4 years old to 12 years old is our sweet spot. I watched my 19-year-old son with his eyes closed, touching the Helen Keller Braille in the book, and he turned to me and said, "Dad, this one's actually good." And I was like, "Actually?" But now we did Temple Grandin is the newest one that's coming out in a couple months. I spent, time on the phone with Temple Grandin, her telling me, how to correct it, how to get it right, how to make sure this autistic community that she cares so much about, is as inspired as we are in writing about her. And every one of these people is the greatest hero to some child out there and to some parent out there. And I love the fact that we get to, exactly what your friend Amy said, get to remind these kids these aren't the stories of famous people. This is what we're all capable of on our very best days.
And again, if you're just now tuning in, we are talking with New York Times bestselling author Brad Meltzer about his new books from Penguin Random House, I Am Superman and I Am Batman, part of his Ordinary People Can Change the World series. Brad, are you okay to stick with us for a quick commercial break?
You got it.
Perfect. We are going to take that break. We're going to come right back after this, talking more with Brad Meltzer about these books. Again, your chance to win a pair of these books. All you have to do is shoot us a text, either on the KTRS text lines at 84126 or in the chats. Give us the secret identity of Superman, and we'll get those books sent out to you. Stand by. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Peanuts Night.
Free. Take this!
Supernaturals. Lionheart, Skull, and Ghostling sold separately. New from Tonka.
H-I-T-S-T-I-A! Something! And an amplifier too! But you don't need drums to make these sounds! It's true! Hit six! Hit six! Play them in the air! You can play them anywhere!
Meet the Pretenders, who wear a bunch of cats who'll do anything to get out of this pet shop, even dress up like other animals. Shh. So if you see us in your neighborhood and you find out we're not what you think we are, you're the best bunny ever. Purr? You're not a bunny. You're a cat. Don't tell, okay? Don't worry. It'll be our secret.
The Pretenders from Fisher-Price. Squeeze them and they really purr.
Wampa! Hop Wampa Cave! Luke's inside! It connects to Hop's Iron Cannon.
Introducing Hoth World, 3 play sets in 1, new from Star Wars Micro Collection line, 19 die-cast.
Limited time only. Hi, this is Nichelle Nichols, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back. Geek to Me Radio brought to you by Marcus Theaters and Movie Tavern. If you're a movie buff, if you want to get out and see a movie in the best possible surroundings, Marcus Theaters is the way to go. Check out their website, marcustheaters.com. You'll find the location of the Marcus Theaters or Movie Tavern closest to you. It's Halloween. This is October, my friends, and I just got done seeing the movie Smile earlier last week. One of the best horror movies I've seen this year for certain. My website's up at geektomeradio.com. You can go there and check out the review. But there's a lot of good movies that are out, a lot of good movies coming out that you will want to see, and you're going to want to do that. You don't have the sound kind of being wonky or the screen's kind of fuzzy or this. Do it in the best possible surroundings. Marcus Theaters is the place for that. You can download the Marcus Theaters app for your smartphone. For those of you who are watching right now, you'll notice I've got the app right down there at the bottom. Press that. If you're out and about, don't know where the closest one is, that will tell you the closest movie theater to you, so you can spontaneously go see a movie. You can even order your concessions through the app, so they're ready and waiting for you when you go in. Just go in, grab your stuff, go into your movie theater, and enjoy a film. Black Adam coming out as well here pretty soon. Tickets are on sale for that as well. The comedy Bros is out. Woman King is still out in theaters as well. They brought back Avatar. A lot of great movies, and the best place to see them is at Marcus Theaters. MarcusTheaters.com, once again, is the website for the best movie-going experience in the galaxy. We're chatting for just a little while longer here with author Brad Meltzer. We had Nichelle Nichols bringing us back from commercial break there, Brad. You probably heard her. She just, unfortunately, we lost her very recently. But she would be a great subject for an I Am series, I would think.
Yeah, trust me, when I heard her do that ad for you, I was like, oh, my gosh, how great that you got her. She's absolutely on our list. Of course she's on our list. And, I was just reading about her when she passed away, that she was the first Black person hired in a regular casting position on a TV show in history.
Yeah.
First one on a regular primetime show. And I just thought that was, what a beautiful, wonderful legacy, and how much, her being there meant to so many people. So, trust me, we have a list. Kids, people always ask me, how do we choose the new hero? And I always look around for what my own kids need. So when my daughter loves our dog, right? She loves animals. I did Jane Goodall for her. I wanted to show her the power of what you can do with something you love, like the love of animals. My son loves sports. I did I Am Jackie Robinson for him. My youngest, though, is my nerd. He's, loves Lego. He loves drawing. He's creative. So I did I Am Jim Henson for him. I Am Walt Disney for him.
Yes.
Even I Am Leonardo da Vinci. And, of course, I Am Superman and I Am Batman for him, just to show him the power of what your imagination can do. And each time that's part of the, how we search for him. But we also listen to kids out there. So we get, the number one request we were getting was we had all these kids that were Hispanic saying, when are you going to do a Latino or a Latina hero? And then we did I Am Frida Kahlo for them. And then the number one thing was Asian kids saying, where's our hero? You did everybody. You did an Indian, you did a Native American, you did Black, you did white, you did Hispanic. Where's our hero? And so we just did, along with I Am Dolly Parton, we did I Am Pei, the famous architect who designed the Louvre. And you open the book up, and it becomes a pop-up book.
Oh, neat.
And you can see the Louvre, pops up out of the book. And I love the fact, kids don't just request heroes; they demand them. They're like little terrorists, and they write to me and demand who the next hero should be. So we listen to them.
And I'm curious. So one of these books from hey, this is the one we're going to do now for our next set, to it's out in stores. How long does that process take for you and Elias?
We are now, to put it in perspective, we're now working on the books that are going to be out almost 2024.
Wow.
So Chris and I have to work a year ahead just for printing purposes. He's finishing drawing Wonder Woman, putting the finishing touches on it right now. And that book's not going to be out until the middle of next year. So it takes a minimum of 8 months to a year from when we start, but it's usually even longer than that because I have to write it and then Chris has to draw it. So there's two whole processes that go into it.
Wow. And then my next question is, how backlogged are you then? Because like I said, you've got all these ideas percolating. It's taking approximately a year and a half per set. So this could keep you busy until well into like 2080, I would think.
That is the goal. When we first went to the publisher, we said to them, they said, oh, you want to do I Am Amelia Earhart and I Am Abraham Lincoln? That's nice. And I said, no, I don't want to do 2 books. Chris and I want to do 100 books. We want to help you. We want to help people build libraries of real heroes for their kids, their grandkids, their nieces, their nephews. And I think I Am Superman and I Am Batman, I believe our book numbers 29 and 30. So we're almost a third of the way there now, which is just incredible.
And with you being a writer, if you had to pick a hero for you who made you the writer you are today, who would that hero be?
You know, when I was 5 years old on PBS watching Sesame Street, a man named Jim Henson, and also watching Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, and Jim Henson taught me you could use your creativity to put good into the world. And that's all Chris and I are trying to do. We're just trying to use our creativity to put good into the world. That's what Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster did when they created Superman. That's what Bill Finger and Bob Kane did when they created Batman. They were just trying to put some good into the world. They had no idea what they were going to unleash. They had no idea to what extent. But I believe in the power of creativity. So I owe Jim Henson and Mr. Rogers forever for that.
And your artist, Chris, I got to ask, how did the two of you pair up on these books?
Yeah, we knew of each other's work. Chris had watched, me on the History Channel doing some of the shows we've done with them. I, of course, knew his work at Marvel because he had done Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and some, X-Men, and I loved his art. And we actually met over Twitter. We were DMing on Twitter, and I said, well, it's the only good thing in my mind that's ever come out of Twitter is my relationship with him. And Chris is just he is truly, any cartoonist can do cute, and a better cartoonist can do funny, but the hardest thing to do as an artist is to do heart, showing that someone has heart. That's a very deeper, harder thing. And I knew if we were going to do people like Dr. King and Sacagawea and Dolly Parton and Rosa Parks, that we needed someone who would make kids fall in love with these heroes the same way we as adults love them. And Chris is our secret weapon. People, say, oh, we love your books. And I'm like, no. What you love is Chris's art. There are plenty of books, but Chris makes, I want my kids off their phones. I want my kids off their screens. But I've realized as a parent that the only way to make that happen is you got to show them something better. That's it. You can't talk them off of it. You got to show them something better. Then they'll dump their stuff. And the reason why kids love our books and ask their parents for our books once they read a couple of them is because Chris's art makes them feel like they're connected to these heroes. You'll see, you can see there his I Am Superman and I Am Batman, when he's drawing the villains and he draws Green Lantern in there and the Flash in there and cameos for everyone in there. It's absolutely, they turn them lovable. They become lovable.
And that begs the question, obviously, we talked at the very beginning about your relationship with DC and Warner Brothers and Jim Lee. If you were to do Marvel heroes in the same vein, let's say whoever you talk to over there just says, yeah, you know what, that's fine. Do you have the first two in mind who you'd be for the characters from Marvel?
Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't really thought about it yet. But listen, I mean, it's the first ones are always the easiest. If I said to you with a gun to your head, who would you do with DC? You'd say Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Of course.
If I said, who would you do with Marvel? People are going to say Spider-Man immediately. You're going to say Captain America immediately. Like, those are the right answers. That's, those are the ones that carry some of the best values around. But I hope, we should be so lucky. So if you want to see that, tell Marvel you want to see it, and hopefully we can make that happen at some point.
Or another, and I hope I'm not like digging into your bag of tricks here. Had you considered Stan Lee himself?
We have, we do. I wanted to do Stan Lee, and we've talked about doing a book on Stan Lee. I think the only reason we didn't is because we wound up doing Superman and Batman. We tried to space it out. Like, we did George Washington, but we waited 2 years before we did Benjamin Franklin.
Right.
We've done a bunch of scientists from, Marie Curie. And I was like, well, we did Marie Curie, so let's wait a little bit before we do another scientist.
Sure.
And so we really try and spread them out. And but trust me, Stan Lee is absolutely on our list. I would love to get to him and Jack Kirby one day.
Yes. Oh, Jack Kirby, amazing. I don't want to keep it any longer. I know we told you we'd let you get out of here pretty soon. But again, if you're listening right now, especially if you're watching, I've got the books held up in front of me here. We've got I Am Batman and I Am Superman from the mind of Brad Meltzer. My wife did want me to pass along that as soon as I got home from meeting you at the hotel, Brad, she said, oh, this is a new book. She sat down and started the book. She finished it in like 3 days, and she said, when's the next one coming out? So my wife is now a huge fan of the Ziganola.
Just tell her that was 2 years of my life that she did in one, at night, but I appreciate it. That's the nicest compliment and the best review I can get.
No, I'll pass that along to her, but she said, make sure you tell Brad that I loved his book. So, yeah, big fan of the Zig and Nola characters now in the form of my wife, so you'll have to crank those out quicker because she is an impatient woman.
I'm working on it right now. Tell her that I'm working on it.
Perfect. Brad Meltzer, it's always great to talk to you. Hopefully we can do it again very soon. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Take care. There he goes. And we did have Chance in the comments. Chance Bartels did get the question right. Clark Kent was the secret identity. So, Chance, you were the winner of the I Am Superman and I Am Batman books. We'll get your information, get those sent out to you. We've got him waiting in the wings. We have Falk Hentschel on right now. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back and talk with him about his acting career and all of his work that he's been doing to bring fairness and creativity to Hollywood. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
I've been so busy granting wishes, I'm tired. Well, let's fly home to the land of wish come true, and you ride Lavender.
Lavender, the magical unicorn, Jazz and True Love, each sold separately.
Mom loves at the clouds. Now Lavender needs to be brushed. She's beautiful. Your turn to ride. Because the only thing more fun than flying is flying on Lavender.
Lavender, the magical unicorn, and Star Fairies, each sold separately. From time.
It is a time when those who control the magic control destiny. When spectral light battle evil darkling lords.
Light of the magical light. Visionary. With magical powers they fight. Visionary.
Dagger, Falk, Fork, Twist, Warren, Spectral Knight. It's the Darkly Wars. Capture Chariot to the rescue.
Visionary. Light of the magical light.
Visionaries from Hasbro.
Protect space from all evil.
Hot Wings Race 2, Gyro 2.
Figures with weapon birds sold separately.
Now with Steel will they face Evil Monster and Sky Shadow. Attack, Stronghold, Slam Power Wings. Oh, stop! I've got Steelheart and Razor. No way. I'll still win. Never.
Steel will with Stronghold, Monstar with Sky Shadow, and other figures with weapon birds sold separately. Silverhawks, new from Kenner.
Only one man is tough enough to stop the evil outlaw Tic-Tacs. He's Brave Star. Neutral laser and laser fire figures sold separately.
You're busted, Tech.
Hi, I'm Martin Campbell, and I'm on Geek to Me Radio, so please listen.
We're back. Geek to Me Radio heard here on the Big 550 KTRS every Sunday night at 9 p.m. If you're listening to this out there in the world, that's 10 o'clock Eastern and 7 p.m. Pacific. We appreciate your tuning in. Want to make sure we tell you very quickly about our premier sponsor, the City of St. Charles, Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. You, of course, know them from their website, discoverstcharles.com. This is October. It's my favorite time of year is fall. They've got their big Halloween celebration coming up. So if you are a Halloween fan and you're in the area, make sure you check out St. Charles. Put that on your to-do list. The last 3 weekends of October here, they turn the entire part of Main Street into a family-friendly celebration of the haunted holiday that we all love. They've got living history characters, like you can interact with Lizzie Borden. You can interact with the Phantom of the Opera. We've got the Weird Sisters from Macbeth out there brewing their potions. It's a great time to be had by all. Fun for the whole family. It's a perfectly free event, so come on out, hang out. And while you're out there, again, Main Street is made up a lot of small businesses, so you can eat at these restaurants, shop at these shops that are all small businesses. You're supporting them in this economy, which is very, very important. And if you're from out of town, maybe you're like Falk and you're not in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area, make a trip. Come plan and visit St. Charles during the fall. And, of course, right around the corner, their Christmas Traditions Festival. We do get people in from all areas of the globe, literally, for that festival as well, which is a lot of fun. Put it on your to-do list. Check out the website to plan your trip. Start there, discoverstcharles.com. Once again, discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. My next guest is an actor. He's been in a ton of TV shows and movies, which I'm sure anyone familiar with my show will recognize a lot of these titles. We're going to talk to him about those as well as the work he's doing to bring creativity and fairness to Hollywood. Mr. Falk Hentschel is on the phone with us right now. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me.
No, of course. Thanks for being on. Obviously, the thing I first saw you as was Hawkman in the Arrowverse, and you were on all three of those shows, The Flash and everything like that. Everyone thinks that we just had Brad Meltzer talking about Superman and Batman. Everyone thinks of Wonder Woman, but DC has those ancillary characters that are just so rich with their history. We've got Green Lantern, we've got Green Arrow, The Flash. Hawkman, one of the more complicated histories since he's died and been reincarnated so many times. Talk a little bit, if you would, about landing the role and how familiar you were with the character before you got the role and what kind of research you did to delve into it.
I knew the existence of Hawkman, and I knew the base, not read any of the comics. Encyclopedia of the Demon Hawk girl that we got to read. Auditioning for the Arrowverse for all kinds of roles, bad guys, good guys. One came along, and I was kind of, I got no new trick. What happens? And I opened the, it was these two lovely Hawkman. One was the love of his centuries, and Hawk Girl, and then another was Hunter, actually, about through and what kind of a leader he took over the ship, and it was really interesting. Somebody who's been around for 2,000 years in the teams, so it's really.
If you don't mind, I'm sorry, we've got a slightly bad connection. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a real quick commercial break. We're going to get this fixed here real quick because I don't want to have the entire conversation have that bit of a lag in it. So stand by right there. I'm going to put you on, pot you down here. We're going to take a very quick commercial break. We're going to come right back and we're going to talk more with Falk Hentschel. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Please stand by.
Fans, this is Dexter Fowler. It's almost here. Clydesdales, Hall of Famers, a sea of red. Opening day in St. Louis. There's nothing like it. It's a new year.
This is Matt Carpenter. It's a time when you all welcome us back.
Adam Wainwright here. Opening day is a time of celebration.
The home opener, Thursday, April 2nd. Good seats, including all-inclusive tickets, are available now at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals baseball.
Summer is here. Spring has sprung.
Let's fly. Sunday, April 5th, the Cardinals take on the Baltimore Orioles in interleague play. To honor the All-World Series between the Cardinals and Browns in 1944, 30,000 adults will leave the ballpark with their very own jersey, courtesy of Coca-Cola and Walmart. It's the 1944 replica Cardinals jersey giveaway on Sunday, April 5th.
Hey fans, this is Whitey Herzog, Cardinal Baseball Hall of Famer. Get your tickets at Cardinals.com/promotion. Cardinals Baseball, time to fly.
White Castle presents the 10 Sacks.
Give me that cheesy 10 sack, the one that keeps me coming back. See me on your sexy cheeks, all the bum that's made to please.
Get your cheesy 10 sack. 10 sliders with your choice of American, cheddar, jalapeno, or new ghost pepper cheese for just $8.99.
Give me that cheesy 10 sack, bring it to my cul-de-sac.
Cheesy 10 sacks, just $8.99 at White Castle. Long live sliders. Pasteurized processed cheese, limited time only, tax extra.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that, folks. I'd rather have the good quality there from the. You can still see the video because we've got him on the screen, so all the ladies who are listening can still look at him. We can actually hear him over the phone. I lost a little bit. Obviously, you said you kind of dug into the role for Hawkman and did the research on your own. What was the biggest once you got the role? What was the biggest challenge in bringing Carter to life?
Oh, man, not to succumb to the pressure of the expectations, I think. I remember very clearly one of the first reviews or notes that I read on the internet once I got cast was, Hawkman is 380 pounds of muscle. This guy's puny. And so I was like, oh, God, here we go. Do I have to try to become The Rock? That was really like the most difficult one. And I actually wanted to kind of stay away from it and leave that to the showrunners, sort of like informing me on what is really necessary, and then giving it just sort of what inspired me to take on the role, which was this very spiritual aspect of rebirth, reincarnation, having seen and played out the same trauma so many times. Like, what does that do to somebody? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
With the role, like you said, you did research, everything. Did you do any of the stuff like we're all very familiar, obviously, with the animated series that we had Maria Canales-Barrera and be Hawk Girl in that series? I know we've had her on the show, and she loved playing that role and everything like that. Did you just strictly do research on the comic books? Did the showrunners give you like, here's issues we want you to read? Did you get into the animated series stuff at all?
No, I went through the Hawkman encyclopedia by Jeff Jones. And looked through that and saw what popped out at me and scoured the internet a little bit, but that was sort of all I did. I didn't get into specific comics or shows. I was nervous that I was going to find something where I'm like, how do I do that?
Right. It's interesting that you mentioned having him, be. He's quite a muscular dude and everything, and obviously you work out and everything like that. Well, were people actually making comments? Because it almost sounds like people were like, well, he's not. I mean, Daniel Craig went through the same thing with James Bond. Oh, he's blonde. His ears are too big. Were you actually getting comments like that at all about when you got cast?
There was one, and then there was one, and that was the only one, and I thought it was funny. The one that mentioned that I'm about 200 pounds too light to play the role, and then I actually had a good friend of mine who was a fan, said, no, in this issue of this comic, he's actually much more of a swimmer, sort of lean type, so you're perfect. And I left it at that, and there's only so much you can do, especially for a TV show. If we were doing the film and you got 6 months of training and you got 5 personal trainers and 6 chefs that are helping you out, it's a whole different story. But I think I had maybe 3 weeks, to 4 weeks to, do anything. And so, I worked out and did my best, and, we went from there.
And it was great because you had, I don't want you to think this is just going to be a Hawkman interview. We're going to get into other stuff too, I promise.
No, go for it. Let's talk about it all.
But it's having that big group thing when you're there with Stephen Amell, you're there with Grant Gustin, you've got all the cast there, Katie Lotz and everything like that. That was such a cool moment for us as a TV, because that's not something we're used to seeing on TV, especially comic book nerds like myself, to see basically the Justice League in front of us on the TV. That had to have been kind of a cool moment for you as an actor, too, to have all these people like, wow, we're bringing this to life.
Yeah, it was. It was both cool and also daunting, because we were doing these crossovers, and those scenes that you're referring to where we're all there are crossovers. And so people are dragged from one show to the next real quick after shooting on that show, and we're all there, and you got to block, just the technicality of it, you got to block 8, 9 superheroes and figure out when everybody gets their one line in, and so it was challenging on many levels, and it was also just cool to see, all right, here we all are, what are we going to do? Let's have some fun.
I'm assuming that was probably those crossover episodes were probably long days of shooting too, because you've got all the cast on hand. You have to get and make use of them. I'm assuming that was how long were those days?
Those they went up to 14 hours, Ooh. Which is, can happen. And they were just, because they were separate shows, we would finish one show on time, but then go to, if I remember correctly, go to Flash. And then the other challenge was we shot Legends and established certain truths and certain storylines that the showrunners decided on. But then we had to go back in time and make sure they all fit, and what we said there actually matched, because, Legends didn't have a lot of prep. It was written very fast, and we were going very, very fast. So we were just constantly trying to make sure, wait a minute, I just said this to her in this scene on that show. Is that right? That hasn't happened yet. Is that correct? Do we need to amend this? There was sort of that going on, and it was chaos in the best way possible. It's just go, keep your focus and get it done.
And obviously, Hawkman and Hawkgirl, their run ended before the series ended. I know we just had, I think it was back in, it must have been March, we had Jess McKellen on the show, and she was hoping at the time, she's like, I'm hoping we're going to get renewed again and everything like that. Did you follow the series after you left it, or as an actor, I'm sure you're busy, but do you try to keep up with the projects you were involved in to kind of see how the stories, the characters played out?
I did not on this. I did check in. I stayed in touch with some of the people on the show. I kind of knew what was happening, but I also think Legends took such a turn.
Oh, yeah.
Season 3, right? It became such a different show. And, I kind of just stayed away from following. I do that with most projects where I'm just sort of I'll leave it where it is. I did my part, and so be it. But, yeah, no, so I didn't continue to watch. I checked back in on season. What season was the 100th episode? 7?
I thought maybe 6. I think.
Or maybe 6.
I could be wrong.
I
but...
checked in there. I checked in on that season to sort of see what are we doing, where's the tone, and I was like, damn, this is a different show than I remember.
Yeah.
I guess all bets are off, you know.
Yeah, they kind of lean into the silliness. It kind of reminded me of Justice League Europe. I'm showing my comic book nerd, but how Justice League Europe was kind of a comedic send-up of what the Justice League was. So I appreciated it for what it was as far as how they did turn the show a little bit on its ear, but it was still fun.
I like that tone. Yeah, I like the comedy aspect of it. I was trying to put that in season 1, I always thought there was a lot of room for humor on Hawkman's part because he is usually so serious.
Yeah.
But that was not the tone that we were going for then. So it was nice to see, okay, we're more in the, let's have fun, let's be outrageous with certain things, and it's fun to watch the transition.
And talking about comedy and drama and everything like that, you've gotten to play bad guys, obviously, in movies like Night and Day. You've gotten to play good guys in a lot of your roles. As an actor, do you have a preference? Roger Moore famously said the bad guys always have the best roles, and he played the Saint and he played James Bond. Do you feel the same?
I feel they're just more free. You get to try more things. As a good guy, you kind of got to be the vehicle for the audience to experience the story. And as a bad guy, it's just sort of like, try anything, go real big, go real small, go crazy. Like, it could all work. And they're really fun. They're really, really fun. Having come, I played a supervillain in the MCU.
Yes.
Which was the complete counterpart, Marcus Galati, Backlash. Yeah, and there's something fun about just being like, I'm the one that people are supposed to be scared of and hate or love to hate. And I enjoy that a lot, but there's also a lot of benefits to playing the hero, the good guy. But definitely more playful in the realm of the villains.
And I was looking you up. Obviously, you had a lot of dance background. I mean, you worked with people like Mariah Carey, Britney Spears. You choreographed dance things and videos and stuff like that. And then you kind of transitioned into acting. I looked as much as I could. I couldn't find a lot about your background, but I was curious. Did you want to do dance and then kind of fell in love with the acting aspect, or was acting always the end goal for you?
Acting was the end goal, and there was a break in it, I would say, because I couldn't quite find my way into an education in Germany. It was all very theater-based, and I wanted to focus on TV and film, or film, actually, at that time. And then it was through, believe it or not, Dirty Dancing, Patrick Swayze. My mom was, in love with that film and Patrick Swayze, and she was like, look, this guy found his way to Hollywood through dance.
Yeah.
And she was in a dance school at the time. My mom was with my dad. And she said, why don't you give it a shot and see how you like it? Maybe it's a creative outlet for you. I did. I started Arthur Murray kind of style, like Dirty Dancing, and then evolved into backup dancing and not forgot about, but put the acting aside. And then once I landed in the States and in Los Angeles, then it was, okay, here's your acting classes. Here's how you get in. And so I then transitioned out of it. So it was always acting first, but the dance was a real beneficial detour, I would say.
I would think the dancing, obviously, having that foundation would just make you a better actor because you have to know how to move as an actor. It's one of the things I think, much like I think improv is one of the things that should be in every actor's tool belt. I feel like dance really kind of gives you a solid foundation for just movement in general. Do you kind of find it was easy to make the transition?
Yeah, it really helps. It really helps. There's the benefit of timing, of a rhythm. You hear somebody like Jackie Chan say this all the time when he talks about his fighting. He's always like, and it's like a beat. You go, bap, 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 and so whether it's fight scenes or just regular, I walk over here, I pick out my cup, then I say the line, then I go over there, close the door and say another line. Your body just has an easier time to adjust. And at the same time, there's a freedom that you need with acting, an emotional freedom that was challenging in the beginning. With dance, you can do the moonwalk over and over, and you'll get better at it. With acting, you can't, practice sadness over and over and get better at it. There's a different kind of approach to it. So that was a bit, that in me that wanted to be disciplined and just repeat things. It was not working really well.
And talking about the dance into acting transition, Street Dance 2, one of my celebrity crushes, Sofia Boutella, is just an amazing talent.
She's a beautiful woman. Yeah, very talented.
How did you find her as far as acting across her? Because I always see her and stuff, like she was in The Mummy with Tom Cruise, who you worked with Tom Cruise. She was in Atomic Blonde, and she always just lights up the screen. How did you find it to be working with Sofia?
It's great. We were both, this was for both of us, our first like leading roles in a movie. So we shared that sort of new, together on this project, where is this going to lead us? And she's just so talented, especially physically. She's great as an actress, and her physicality is incredible. And I told her on Street Dance, I was like, you will pop. You're so unique, and you're so, special in what you have to offer. It's only a matter of time. And then she did Kingsman, and it was just undeniable. You see that movie and you go, who is this person? Like, she's amazing. She's both, emotionally available and a good actress, and her physicality is incredible.
And it's interesting to think about someone, because, with the success you've had, both in dance and then transitioning to acting and everything like that in film and TV, you're obviously a very good-looking guy and everything like that. People see you and they think, man, that's the life. But everyone suffers from their own depression, their own problems. Everyone's got problems in life, even though the Hollywood kind of seem like they're above it sometimes. But you've been very open about your struggle, and you've kind of used that to kind of help bring an awareness, not only about that, but also kind of working, as it was stated, for fairness and creativity to bring those back to Hollywood. Talk a little bit about that, if you could.
Oh man, there's so much to unpack. I mean, yes, the struggles and the perception of who you are as a public figure, as an actor, any of that is one thing. And then what's really going on and the struggles behind it, and what kind of money do you actually make? Like, how do you actually get treated? There's always this famous question of, so how did you choose your project? Where often I've said, well, look, at my level, unless you're Tom Cruise, you get to audition for certain things, and then you pick from the one that you get, and you choose whether you like it or not, and you can say yes or no. But the level of getting your scripts lined up on a table and to just go, what is my inspiration today? That's reserved for very, very few. Mm-hmm. So there's that piece of it. And then I've always had a bit of a struggle with the idea of the pay scale, the sort of hierarchy in Hollywood. If you're a certain name, you deserve, 50% of the whole budget. And then it goes down the line, and it's sort of like, and you get what's left over. Also, just the power game of Hollywood, of sort of like, you can have a creative say when you're this kind of a name. If you're new, then you probably shouldn't have any input here, depending on the project. None of this is generalized, or you can generalize it. So I've always been, and I've been a fan of independent films, which I've never really got to do in my career, which is ironic. But I've just wanted to create a space where artists are free of mandates, meaning, we mandate that, for example, we have to have a certain A-list name to greenlight this. We mandate that the story has to currently be about this, because that's what's currently in, that's what the algorithm is telling us. And I found that we've just been in a creative loop of, I don't want to say regurgitating, of listening to the audience and then delivering more of where they're at and what they want. Whereas to me personally, as an audience and as an artist, I want to be surprised.
Yeah.
I don't want to dictate what the artist does. I want to go, what are you inspired by? What's happening to you right now? What is your perspective right now? And I don't really want to know the character yet, And this is the other thing. There's a space for everything. Right now we're riding the superhero train. We're riding the franchise train. And I think there's space for that, and it's wonderful. And I want to make a strong case to say to artists again, have the courage to truly share your inspiration.
Yeah.
I want to inspire investors to say, maybe let's get some people in that have enough abundance that don't ask for what is my return first, but what is the story? And it doesn't matter if I get a return, because this art piece, you take a Mona Lisa, gets commissioned. This is what I'm hanging up. That's what I'm paying for.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not doing that in the hopes that, hundreds of years later, it is worth billions of dollars. however much the Mona Lisa is worth now. And so I've created Patronage Films. I've funded my first feature film right when COVID hit. Charlie Teal was our first patron, and it was an investor that understood that. I told him, look, as soon as I promise you a profit, I have to adhere to these things that distributors want.
Right,
I have to have a star. I can't do this. We have to have, we had a really small cast, and there was the inclusivity mandate, which I very much support, becomes very difficult for independent films because now you have so many things to fill with so little money and so little time that it sometimes can become a hindrance. And we set out with him understanding that and just sort of going, let us just try our best to tell this story and see where it goes, And he okayed it. We got to make this film. It's out now on Amazon, iTunes, and then it'll be on Tubi and all the other AVODs in October. So it's called Swap Me Baby. It's a body swap comedy between a pregnant lady and a mushroom-tripping gigolo by myself with long curly hair. Very different role than Hawkman. Although when I came back to the show, I still had the long hair and a thick mustache. And I pitched, I was like, can we go full reboot? Like, can we just, bring him back like that? A little, a little drunk, a little sad that he's lost Hawk Girl. They didn't go for that. Yeah, so it's just sort of like making a space again for the artists to tell their story unimpeded by the financial interest that right now I think drives most of the movies that are being made.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll watch for that one to come out. You say it's out currently, right, on all those streaming platforms?
It's currently out for purchase and rental on Amazon, iTunes, and it'll be on the advertising platforms like Tubi in October.
Perfect. We'll put a link to that if you're listening right now after the fact in the podcast form. We'll put an Amazon link to that in the show notes as well. So if you're listening and you're done with listening to the interview, just scroll down to the bottom of the page and there'll be the link. You can see Falk's movie. We just have a few minutes left. This movie is this hour has flown by as it always does. So much more I want to talk to you about. I want to ask you. You have another film that I think is in post production called Recollection. Is that in post production? It should be out soon as well.
That is. Yep, that's in post-production. They're figuring out the distribution model right now. It's about erasing trauma. What would that do? Should we do it? Should we not do it? Which I think is pretty current right now. Yeah. We're all going through a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And starring Rosalind Luke and myself, and Eric Roberts is in it.
Eric Roberts is in everything. My gosh, the man's a beast.
He is. I think he holds the Guinness Book record for credits.
It would not surprise me.
Done. Yeah, it's incredible. I think he does something like 40 movies a year, which I don't know how that's possible. I know.
Amazing. And of course, I got to give you a shout out to one of my very favorite comedies, Arrested Development. You were able to be in that. That had to have been a fun cast to work with.
Very fun. Talk about free and just have fun. That was that kind of a project.
Absolutely. And if people want to keep up with you on social media, websites, things like that, where can people find you online?
Instagram at Falk Hentschel, just my full name, and then. For anyone movie-related specifically, investors, directors, writers, patronagefilms@gmail.com. Just send me an email and we'll go through it.
Perfect. I hate to, we got off to a little bit of a rocky start with the problem that I hate to let you go because we got so much to talk about, but hopefully I can have you back on soon. It'd be great.
Have me back. I'll be back. This is awesome. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful evening, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Anytime. You're welcome back anytime. Like I said, we'll definitely have to do it again soon. This has been great. Appreciate it.
All righty.
Thanks.
Take care.
There he goes, Falk Hentschel. And again, before we get out of here, I want to make sure we tell you about our comic book sponsor, the official comic book sponsor, where you can go to get your Hawkman comics. Bugs Comics and Games, of course, is the place you want to go. Right there on Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri. BugsComicsandGames.com is the website if you want to check them out there. If you're not in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area, head to the website. You can get your variant covers of all the stuff you might want to get. Maybe your local comic book shop doesn't have. You can check out Larry and Tim's website and get them there. If if your local comic book store sadly went out of business or is no longer around and you're in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area, check out Bugs Comics. They've got back issues, new issues, games, toys, all sorts of stuff. Anything you'd want for collecting, Larry and Tim have it in stock at Bugs Comics. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. That's going to wrap it up. Another show in the books. My thanks, as always, to Brad Meltzer and to Falk Hentschel. We'll definitely have to get both of them back on again. Just a half hour with each is never long enough. Until next week, my friends.
KTRS St. Louis.
The views and opinions expressed